Hi folks, it's the 11th of September 2020. I'm looking actually at the 10th of September satellite imagery and looking at the smoke. We've got the plume of smoke comes off the west coast of the US and stretches out over 1,000 miles. 1,300 is about right. Let's look at the area. 1,357,225 square miles. Some very detailed satellite imagery has come in from the Sentinel-2 satellite, and you can see it here. The thing of interest is this little popping up pyrocumulus. Let's have a closer look. We can do some scripting to improve the imagery here and then fade through to look at the fire signatures underneath, or kind of combine them together. And so you see the heat signature, but beware, this doesn't actually show the fire, it just shows the heat signature from the fire. The colors are artificially added for the heat signature. If you want to know more about creating these types of images, please see the Finding Wildfires video. Conditions have apparently been super red skies, night during the day type conditions for San Francisco and other places on the west coast. But let's have a look at things going forward. We're going to look at the PM 2.5 forecast. Pretty miserable stuff, PM 2.5 turns out. The smaller particles, PM 2.5, were particularly deadly, with a 36% increase in lung cancer per 10 UG per meter squared. Okay, this is too depressing, let's just look at it. This PM 2.5 forecast, which is from the CAMS model, it just runs till next Tuesday. So if we scroll through, you'll see the exceptionally high values. If we go through Saturday and Sunday, it looks like it's spreading up into Washington State a bit more and expanding in Oregon. It's definitely not blowing away and magically disappearing. Maybe by the coast there might be some relief, but otherwise you got to head well inland, and it actually spreads out. And this is the problem, is that there are light winds, and that's not helping to disperse any of it. So the smoke stays, and this is Monday now, but there is some signs of clearing on late Monday into Tuesday. Let's check the forecast. Yeah, these are the winds at 1,500 meters elevation, so well above the surface, but it gives you an idea as to where the winds are going to blow the smoke. And if we go into early next week, there is a strengthening of southwesterly winds into Oregon that moves into Washington according to the European satellite model. So that may help to disperse some of the smoke. We'll have to stay tuned and see how this pans out. Here are a couple of advice slides. Avoid strenuous exercise outside and close your windows and doors if it gets real smoky. Okay, let's move away from the fires and check out the active Atlantic. This is peak hurricane season right now, mid-September or early to mid-September. So we've got a disturbance off the west coast of Africa. Rene and Paulette, both tropical storms, and a couple of pieces of junk closer to the US. Main concern appears to be Paulette, which is forecast to become a hurricane and pass quite close to Bermuda. Here's the hurricane warning forecast for Paulette, and you'll see the storm intensifying as it heads across the West Atlantic into the West Atlantic, and that is Bermuda in there. So the storm comes in, and it looks like it is category 3, almost 100 knots, as it moves in very close to Bermuda. Bermuda's on the left side of the storm, and then it moves off. So HWRF is predicting a close call with Bermuda. Let's see what the model tracks look like. Bermuda is in here, and you can see they're quite tightly packed, but a few shooting off to the north. But they are actually, if you took the average of all of the tracks, it would take it pretty much over Bermuda. It's certainly close. Difficult to tell from the NHC track, but it probably does a curve. Looks like that curve is pretty much over Bermuda or very close to it. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one for sure. So the overall picture with Paulette here and Rene behind is Rene looks like it's not really doing anything, but Paulette comes in and is a significant concern for Bermuda. Meanwhile, the next wave that comes off Africa, this one is also considerable concern because it hangs towards the south and heads into the Caribbean into the end of next week. So that will be definitely worth watching. Well, I've run out of time, but here we have the 10-day or so forecast, and it has to be said that system that goes into the Caribbean and the GFS does want to juice it up quite a lot. That's a long way out. The GFS is sort of imagination land into the future, but there's also a system in the East Pacific that develops around, I guess that's mid next week. And meanwhile, there's lots of other things I kind of wanted to cover, but I haven't had time, such as the floods in Sudan and heavy rains in India as well. So I've really got to kind of streamline these videos, I think, a bit in order to cover true global stuff. But with the fires and everything, yeah, it's been good to focus on the West US, and I hope that everything clears up into next week. See you in the next one.